You're watching Philadelphia 76ers Now by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Chase Senior. Hope all of Philadelphia is having an awesome weekend. On today's show, we're getting into the latest NBA beef. It's Daryl Morey versus Tyronn Lue in what we are deeming free throw gate. So we're going to set the foundation and get into what is really the latest conversation in Philly between Morey and Tyronn Lue, kind of exchanging punches a little bit, and both sides can be correct in this argument. So you go back to Friday's win against the Los Angeles Clippers for the Philadelphia 76ers. James Harden able to break out of his slump. He looked really good, and it's about time because for the last couple of weeks, he hasn't necessarily lived up to the billing as that star acquisition that the Sixers made at the NBA trade deadline. And then the big man, Joel Embiid, was just making it happen. Step back, triples, making the crowd ooh and ah at Crypto.com Arena in Los Angeles. And the Clippers got to see firsthand just how good Embiid and Harden can be when they're both really playing good basketball. So Embiid drops 27-10, 9 of 19 from the field, 2 of 3 from beyond the arc, and 7 of 8 from the free throw line. The free throw attempts and the free throw makes, really the big talking point here, and we'll get to that just momentarily. For Harden, the beard going off, 29 points, 15 boards, 7 of 15 from the deck, 4 of 9 from downtown, and a perfect 11 of 11 from the free throw line. First off, it was a great James Harden game. He seemed to have his legs beneath him. Doc Rivers had said going into that matchup that James Harden's still coming back off that hamstring injury. Is that it, or has he just not been playing well? We'll see over time. And Joel Embiid just looked like the MVP sensation that he's been really all throughout the year, especially since Christmas, when he has put his game into the highest gear, and he's just making cats look foolish on the basketball floor with how well he's been playing. But going back to where this beef originated from, Tyronn Lue, after the game, when talking about Embiid, Harden taking so many trips to the free throw line, obviously that's a huge dynamic to both of their respective offensive games. Lue said this: Embiid is number 1 in the league in free throws, and James Harden is number 3. You take away their free throws, and neither guy would be top 10 in scoring. Daryl Morey sees that. He claps back. He fires back on Twitter and provides some statistical analysis to his side of the debate, saying this on Twitter: Clippers offense would rank 30th without free throws. Say it with me again. Players are fouled because the other team cannot stop them. Now, I think Tyronn Lue has a point, and I think Daryl Morey has a point. From Tyronn Lue's side of things, yes, it can be really frustrating to go up against two players, and Embiid as well as James Harden, who consistently get to the free throw line and are very crafty and methodical, and it takes some mental processing as to how they can draw some of those fouls. And from Tyronn Lue's perspective and others' point of view, some might make the argument that it's not real basketball when your games are predicated on getting contact, getting to the free throw line, and there have certainly been a lot of playoff questions with Joel Embiid and James Harden as to how that type of offensive style translates to playoff basketball when things get a little bit more physical in the playoffs. So I see where Tyronn Lue is coming from, but at the same time, I mean, Joel Embiid and James Harden are two of the most gifted offensive players that we have ever seen in the history of the NBA. They're two of the most dominant offensive players in the history of the NBA, and their games aren't solely predicated on getting contact and getting to the free throw line. So from Morey's point of view, Embiid and Harden are just really good, and the Clippers saw firsthand how dominant this 1-2 punch can be on Friday night when Embiid is making it happen on both ends of the floor, looking like Hakeem with the footwork, but hitting James Harden step-back threes. And then on James Harden's side of things, with his highlights that he was putting up, he was in control. He was that floor general. He was able to hit a couple of shots and was really crafty with how he got to the hoop and got to the free throw line. So with all of that being said, I want to ask you this. Whose side are you on in this latest NBA beef? Type D for Daryl Morey, T for Tyronn Lue. Let me know. And while you're down there, you see that red subscribe button? hit that. If you want the best Sixers news and rumors coverage here on YouTube, we launched this channel over the summer, Philadelphia Zone, and we continue to grow like crazy, and we are nearing 6,000 subs, and once we get there, we will be honoring the great Dr. J. Julius Irving. So if you want more Sixers videos from your boy, you got to subscribe because more subs equals more videos. We'll get to the latest Eastern Conference standings here in just a second, but first, you want a James Harden jersey after seeing what he was able to cook up on Friday night at the Crip? $74.99 for this jersey if you use our link, chatsports.com/Harden, all thanks to our friends at Fanatics. I'm going to put that link in the comment section as well as the description of this video. Now you wake up on Sunday morning after a couple of defeats from other teams in the Eastern Conference. Look who's atop the East right now with the 46-27 record going into Sunday's game against the Phoenix Suns. You know what's crazy? Sixers tied for first in the East. The Suns first in the West. Sixers at 46-27. With a win today, they're going to be 20 games above 500 against Phoenix. But the Suns have 60 wins, 14 games ahead of Philadelphia for first place in the West. That's how good of a season they've been having. But with how things are shaking out in the East, it's going to be crazy. Sixers, Heat, Celtics really scare me. They're playing fabulous basketball on both ends. And Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, going to be a handful in the playoffs. Marcus Smart playing the best basketball of his career. Robert Williams has been an X factor. So the Celtics really scary as they continue to stay hot and climb up the Eastern Conference standings. Bucks, Bulls rounding out the top five. And this is where there's a little bit of a gap. Toronto Raptors, Cleveland Cavaliers, the Brooklyn Nets, Charlotte Hornets, Atlanta Hawks in those 6 through 10 spots. So you look at those playoff standings and a couple of big takeaways. You do not want to play the Brooklyn Nets in the first round because Kyrie Irving's been just cooking, and Kevin Durant is Kevin Durant, probably the best basketball player in the world when he's right. But also, there is going to be a very good team in the East that gets bounced in the first round just because of how things are shaking out in the Eastern Conference. Everything is so tightly contested, that you look at the standings and you're like, man, I mean, some of these first-round matchups are going to be some of the more intriguing first-round matchups that we've seen in a long time in the NBA, which is great because the depth of great teams is long in the Eastern Conference. I mean, you look at the standings once more before we hop on out of here. There's that play-in tournament, which would right now involve teams potentially like the Raptors, Cavs, Nets, Hornets, and Hawks in those 6 through 10 spots. And then 1 through 5, all of these teams are separated by only 3 games in the win column. Chicago has certainly been sluggish really since the start of 2022. They could get bounced in the first round, but right now you'd be looking at a Bucks versus Bulls series, maybe Sixers and Nets in that first round, which I want no part of. So this is going to be fascinating to see how things transpire and play out in the East, but also the jockeying that takes place the last 2 weeks of the NBA regular season. One more question for the audience. Appreciate all of you for watching today's show. How far will the Sixers advance? Let me know in the comment section. Don't forget to subscribe. And Philly, stand up, show out. Subscribe to the channel. We appreciate the love.